With the American continent almost cleared of syndicalist resistance, our high command had to decide which enemy we should invade next, the Japanese, French or the British. While most admirals supported an offensive against the Japanese, this wasn't enough to convince the army, which put its focus on the British Isles, forcing the navy to agree on attacking the Brits. The plan is quite simple. Our 10 marines will naval invade Ireland and then wait for our infantry and tanks to be developed. Then the invasion of Great Britain can begin. Our spies had already been sent to Ireland and our marines have begun preparing in Newfoundland. The only thing left is that we need naval superiority. While our main fleet doesn't reach all the way to Ireland, our submarines can escort our marines the rest of the way. Since with no British ships in the area, escorts aren't needed anyways. So we launched the invasion. 2 weeks later we arrived on the western coast of Ireland. The first goal was to capture Galway and its port. An easy objective since the British only had a single garrison guarding it, and with our far superior numbers we could attack the city from all different sides and capture it. We now have to capture the 3 other ports on the island to stop the British from reinforcing it. Splitting off a third of our marines headed for Cork, another third for Dublin and the rest to Belfast. They all had garrisons stronger than that on Galway, so it was a bit tricky to capture the port, especially Dublin where reinforcements had started to arrive. However, capturing every province around the cities and then attacking from different sides allowed us to capture the ports and inflict heavy casualties on the British. The most being in Dublin where their new reinforcements weren't organized at all and didn't manage to flee. Ireland is now fully liberated and we can start to prepare for our invasion of Great Britain. By building up infrastructure, sending over our infantry and our air force, and lastly waiting for our tanks. It will take 100 days for them to enter production, but this means we have time to focus on our internal politics. Our government had already done a great job at supporting our farmers and are currently on their way to reform the Federal Reserves to finally fully heal ourselves from the Civil War. This means our government can start to implement their election promises, starting by introducing a wealth taxation to fund goods for the people since prices have risen due to the war. After that we started encouraging the country life movement to get people moving to the countryside, and we also started discouraging alcohol. Our tanks had now entered production, but we had some more time to reform our country, mainly with the long anticipated introduction of fair labor standards. While slowing down our economy in the short term, it will help our workers stay healthy and motivated to work. And finally, we began reforming our education system to make it more available to everyone. That's when 4 tank divisions were finally deployed and shipped to Ireland. So we started preparing the invasion of Britain. We will head from Dublin to Liverpool and then immediately ship our tanks and motorized over so we can blitz through the UK. But before we launched the invasion, we received news that the Russians had declared war on the Japanese. This is greatly appreciated since the Japanese have even invaded Australia. So let's now invade the UK. Unsurprisingly, they had divisions in Liverpool, but we had prepared for this. By landing around the city and then marching to Manchester, we could cut off any supply to Liverpool and easily kill all divisions. With the major port now secured, we sent over our tanks and motorized. Before they arrived, Canadians launched a rebellion with several pro-King forces rising up in Wales. This helped us distract British troops as we drove to the east coast. With our quick motorized, it didn't take long and we split the country in 2 with a massive encirclement in the middle. From here we simply continued attacking on all sides. Sadly, due to supply problems, our tanks were quite useless in the beginning. For example, after arriving in the outskirts of London, we tried to enter it but got kicked back. But this was mostly due to the lack of supply, since as we attacked them in Cornwall, we easily broke the British forces, only losing a single tank, and started attacking Portsmouth. Despite being outnumbered, 2 of our tank divisions managed to encircle the city and capture it. After that, Dover was captured and the only city left was London. After slowly wearing down their defenses, the British syndicalists surrendered, leaving the French left as the only major in the Third Internationale. So, before they can reinforce their coastal defense, we will plan and launch our invasion of the country. Our navy has already established complete superiority and our air force is bombing the important defensive infrastructure as well as supply. Our marines will land in Brest, the biggest French port, and then the rest is simple. So, being completely ready, we launch the invasion. We've done it, the European syndicalists are crushed and the Third Internationale is dissolved. We now have the tricky task of redrawing the European borders on our hands. Sadly for our French and Canadian allies, not their African colonies. Since as the syndicalists took over the continent, they let the African states declare independence. This sense of freedom will be impossible to destroy now, so let's stick to Europe. Ireland has gotten its island and the British as well as the French governments in exile can start their process to desyndicalize their countries. The same with the Spanish, Portuguese, Belgian and Dutch. We are only left to decide over the German, Italian and of course the Mexican lands. And we have several options what to do with them. Mexico is simple, we have met quite a high amount of resistance, so we will set up a friendly government so they can rule over their own internal politics again. But regarding Germany and Italy we have a lot more options, starting with Italy. The first, we will set up two puppet states, the first being the Kingdom of Sardinia and the second being two Sicilies. None of these states will claim the northern part of Italy, but the Pope might not be too happy about our influence over the peninsula. The second, we will set up an all-Italian state under the Kingdom of Sardinia and their king. This would severely hurt our relations with the Pope, since both would then claim each other's states. The third, not wanting to interfere in Italian politics, we will simply give all our Italian holdings to the Pope in the north so we can unite Italy again. This might lead to them joining the Entente, but if not, they would at least not be against us. So that is our options for Italy. Let's turn to Germany. The first, we will form a German republic and host their first elections in a long time. The second, we will split up Germany into a northern, a southern and a Rhenish state. With the addition of the Russian Prussia, this would leave Germany disunited for all eternity to the fright of German nationalists. The third, we will establish a republic just like in the first option, but give away Brandenburg and Saxony to Prussia, which claims the two states. This would largely boost our already great relations with the Russians, who despite being autocratic have so far been great friends to us. So how should we draw the map of Europe? And don't take too long to decide, since we have to hurry up and turn our army to the Japanese. To vote, head to my community post or click on the link on the top right corner. To not miss the next episode, which will hopefully be released in 2 days, please subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching and go make your vote count.